Hello and welcome to Pickard Home. I'm continuing the wall. It's taking a bit longer than I thought it would. I can only fit it in a little bit every day, but we're making progress. So it's progress is progress. So one of the nicest thing about summer is I put my shorts on, and that's it now till the end of October. Obviously not the same pair, but you know what I mean. How are you doing, Bentley? Come on, I'm meant to be building a wall, not playing football. One more, then I'm back to work. Yeah, what I'll do later, I'll cut this barbed wire off where it comes out of the wall, and then I'll reattach it, the fence at this end, and get rid of all this. That's enough for our little wheelbarrow. Whoops. It's a measure.
Today I'm going to continue cleaning the other gates. Andrew is nearly at the end of the other side of the entrance, so we need the other gate so we can have the set. I'm originally from Morocco. I grew in Spain. I studied there. I met Oliver there, and we've been together now for 15 years and a half, more than half of my life. And we met there. We planned our future since we started knowing each other, and we wanted to come here to France. I personally, I felt I lived in the south of Spain, Andalusia, and I always felt welcomed, but at the same time I felt I was in the wrong place for some reason, and no comparison at all with this. So I am absolutely blessed to be here, really. Getting there, slowly. By the way, I need to say thank you so much to all of you for being here, watching our videos, for supporting us, for leaving lovely comments. We really appreciate them all your emojis, the mosquito emojis and everything. We really appreciate it. So yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Good morning and welcome back to Pickard Home. I'm going to continue with our wall. It's turned into a bit of a marathon, but it's going along really well, and it's made us a really nice place to sit there. In the afternoon we get loads of shade, and it's really pleasant just to sit there. So it's it's nice. It's worked out really well. It's another gorgeous day here in southeast France. We've had some really hot weather. The last 2 days have been 34 and 36 degrees. As you can see by the lawn, it's got really dry really quickly. It's gone from being super green to looking quite frazzled. But it always bounces back. I bet my mix far too wet and runny, but in this heat it won't take long before it's starting to go off. Bentley. That's got it. That was tougher than I thought. Yeah, I've changed the sand that we're using, and this when you mix it with grey cement, you know, normally Portland cement, it makes the mix much greyer. So it's a good job that we're going to lime mortar it, otherwise you'd see the difference in colour. If you've got any questions you'd like to ask us about living in France or being off grid, on the kind of setup that we have, because we do produce all our own electricity. We're not connected to the grid at all. We produce all our own electricity and all our own water. And up until last year or the year before, you had to pay habitation tax, and in France they've actually done away with habitation tax. If it's your primary residence, then you do not pay tax. I know in England, you have to pay council tax or whatever they call it now, but here in France you don't actually have to pay to live in this country. Which is very nice. So that's just one less bill. The only drawback we've found to not having any bills, right, we have obviously you've got to have house insurance, car insurance, but as far as utility bills, we don't have any. We don't have water, we don't have electricity, we don't have gas. And the only drawback we've found is that a lot of things that you need to, like to open a bank account and things like that, you need like a utility bill. But our local mayor has actually basically written us a letter to say that we live here and this is our house, and he's been absolutely superb with us. So instead of having a utility bill, we got a letter from our mayor stating that we lived here, and also from the house insurance people. They basically wrote us what they call an attestation, and they wrote us an attestation to say that this was our primary residence, and obviously we live here full time. In France, you kind of think of lots of bureaucracy and lots of things you need to sort out, and there is. But the biggest thing you need to have is patience, because you can send off your paperwork and you don't hear anything for ages, and then you kind of start to worry, has it been lost in the post, and eventually it all comes back to you, all pleasant and correct. We've changed our driving licenses. Oliver and Miriam changed their driving license from Spanish to French, and which you have to do by law if you change countries. You've got to change your driving license, because obviously if you get a speeding ticket, then they can send it to this, you have to pay your fine and you have to send it to this address. The English one, not so straightforward. You have to get in touch with the DVLA. They send you a paper to say that you don't have any outstanding speeding tickets or fines or points or anything, and then you send that in, and that covers you for 3 months. What has happened is things take longer than 3 months, and that piece of paper runs out. It runs out of its time limit. Then you've got to do it again and send it in again. But literally, you can do it on the internet. You can take a photograph and you can email it to them, so you don't need to go to the post office and everything else. You just send it all by email. Now we've all got our French driving licenses, and everything's fine. So yeah, but the thing you have to remember is to be patient. There is another tax you need to pay if you buy a house and a barn, and you want to convert the barn into another dwelling. Then you have to pay tax on it, and it depends on the square footage. I think it's the square footage or square meterage of your barn to how much tax you paid. Which was a bit of we didn't know about this, and then suddenly we had a bill arrive that we knew nothing about and didn't expect. But it's not a fortune, but it's a bill that you don't expect. So if you are considering moving to France and you want to do a barn conversion, be prepared to pay a tax bill on the conversion from a farm building to a dwelling. And they do the same for the parking spaces, because they have the same rules for countryside as they do in the city. So if you have a parking space in a city, obviously parking's a premium, so you have to pay for the square footage of the parking area. At the back of the house, we're going to build a big carport, because obviously the car sat in the sun all day isn't good. So we're building a covered parking area there for 4 cars. And we had to pay a little bit of tax on that. It's not a fortune, but it is another bill that we didn't expect. But in France, they're completely happy to have you off-grid and produce your own power. There's no rules or bureaucracy to say, you can't do. And there's no building regulations either. There is for fosses and exterior plumbing that can be affected, can affect the groundwater. So obviously you're not allowed to pollute anything. So if you put a new foss in, You have to get the local inspector to come round. He inspects all your foss. He inspects the work you've done. He tells you basically the best way to do it in your particular situation, and then you can then put your foss in before you can cover it back over. He comes, inspects it, passes it off, gives you a certificate, and then he'll be coming back in. He comes back in 10 years' time just to reassess it all. And if you are converting a barn or a building that isn't originally a dwelling, obviously you pay the tax on it. If it's more than 150 square metres, you have to, by law, have an architect to do the drawings and put in the paperwork. Luckily for us, our conversion isn't that big, and they don't count an attic. They only count the ground floor and the second floor. Yeah, if you're doing a lot of house work on your house, you have to inform your mayor. And if you're doing a conversion, you have to put in a dossier. You have to draw the plans. So I drew the plans for our house, the workshop, and Oliver and Miriam's barn. My wife did the dossier, which is all in French, and it took her quite a while. But basically, it's a huge big form. A lot of it is irrelevant to what you're doing. It's like an English form. It's only specific things that you need to fill out, but you need to go through everything and sign every page to say that you've seen every page and fill out all the relevant parts, which she did, and it passed first time. But everybody told us, no, you mustn't do it. You must get a French speaker to do it. It's very complicated. Even the estate agent didn't recommend we do it ourselves, but we did, and it passed straight away. So we did save money there, which is always nice. And of course, property prices here are much cheaper than for England, for example. In the Ribble Valley where we used to live, a property like this, if you could get one, would be ridiculously expensive. Even like a house with a barn conversion, you're talking $1 million plus, which obviously we would never be able to afford it. But here in France, if you're prepared to do the work, you can still pick up some bargains, but you will need to do a lot of work, and it's a fine balance between, do you spend the bare minimum and do an awful lot of work, or do you spend more and have to do less work? And there doesn't seem to be a happy medium between the two, because we've seen some properties that are quite expensive that needed a load of work, and other properties that were smaller that didn't need much work at all, but were equally as expensive. So it just depends on yourself. If you're capable of doing the work yourself and not getting builders in and other professionals, which are very expensive, because obviously there's sorry, being attacked by a little spider. Even for a labourer, there is a minimum wage in France, which is, I think it's about 18 euros now. So to have work done on your house is incredibly expensive, and building materials are expensive. Even basic things like sand and cement. The prices have jumped up, and they don't appear to be slowing down at all. So you've got to make that decision for yourself if you are thinking of doing something like this. But the only thing I can say, I've found it's well worth it. Obviously, I'm capable of doing the work, and there's a team of us. It's not just me. We've got Oliver and Miriam, and my wife too. We each individual bring out our own thing to the team. I've still got that little spider. Or individual skill to the, to the team. But if you're on your own and you're, like I'll be 62 this year, but I'm fit and healthy, and I actually love doing this kind of work. So for me, it is no hardship. But if you're not so fit and you're not so healthy, then I'd perhaps buy something much more modern and spend the money and get something that you don't need to work on. The basically just maintenance rather than a big building project. Because it is easy to get, to go and start looking at properties and imagine them finished. But there's an awful lot of time, effort and money goes in between what it is then and what you envisage when it's finished. So when you if you do come to look at a property here, make sure you're not wearing your rose tinted glasses. I see a lot of the chateau people on YouTube doing their chateaus, and all power to them if they can pull it up and the pockets are deep enough. But for me, this is our property is more than enough work. We had a comment in last week's video about why does it always seem to be me that does all the work. Well, that's not true. At this very moment, Oliver's been up since 5 o'clock, and he's been editing. We are building a sports car from scratch, and we also make videos for that. So Oliver's been up since 5 o'clock, and he's actually editing that now. And we do 2 videos a week on that on the car, and it's an awful lot of work. You think, oh well, the film and a video just don't take much making. Once you've got, first we've got to do the work on the car. We film the work on the car, and then Oliver has to take all the raw footage and edit it into an episode. And Miriam, our able camera lady, who's behind the camera as we speak, she does all the filming, making an episode for YouTube. You think, oh, it's nothing, it's just a little bit of filming, and then you make a thumbnail and you put it on the internet. Well, really, that's not the case. It's an awful lot more involved than I thought it was to make a good quality video. Obviously, you can not edit things and put them up very kind of amateurishly, and that works. It works for some people, but Oliver takes a great pride on his editing skills, and he does a really good job. So my good lady wife, she keeps us all fed and watered. She looks after everything else. She looks after the polytunnel. She cooks for everybody, and so basically when we're all hot and bothered and desperate for some food, it's there ready for us, which is fantastic. And she looks after the chickens, obviously does the gardening, and that again is a full-time job. Just looking after all 4 of us is fantastic. She does the washing, and she basically looks after all of us. So whilst they're not actually on camera at this particular moment, they are working feverishly away. I know I keep saying this, but this doesn't even feel like work to me. It's, I'm stood in my garden. It's, however hot warm it is, it's super pleasant, nice breeze, and it's thoroughly enjoyable. So if you do have any questions, or you want to just say hello from wherever you are in the world, you're more than welcome. If you go down into the comments and just leaves a comment, we try to answer every single comment that we are sent. and we've managed it so far. And if you've got a partner or a friend that likes automotive things, you might want to tell them about our automotive channel, about our car build. It's called Project Mosquito.
Hello everybody, I hope you all are having a wonderful weather. Here it's absolutely scorching. We've been having 35 to 38 degrees, but absolutely beautiful. I'm loving the seasons here in the south of France, southeast of France, especially because I've never had seasons. We had torrential rain or hot to absolutely boiling. So to have the seasons, to have the winter, snow, I never lived in somewhere where I had snow. Autumn here is absolutely astonishing. The change of trees and leaves and all that is absolutely gorgeous. Spring is beautiful, and the summer is gorgeous as well. So for me, it's fantastic. We've been talking to our family in the south of Morocco because I am a Berber girl. I was born in the south of Morocco, and we have a family, a big family in there in the south of Morocco, and in all different areas in Morocco as well. But my family is from the south of Morocco. I was born in there, and obviously I grew in Spain. I studied there and all that. So every summer when I was young until adulthood, I went to Morocco for a month every year and spent summer there in my grandma's house. So it was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. But it is very, very hot. We've talked to my brother, and they've been having 50 degrees in there. And the life in the south of Morocco is a bit different. So, for example, my brother opens the shop early in the morning and closes it at 11 a.m. because it is searing hot in there. And then he opens the shop again later in the evening and keeps it open all night, and sometimes to 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning. And then is when all people go out, because you can't go out when it's 55 degrees. So life in there is different, and obviously it is exception in Casablanca and stuff, because you go to the shops and they have air cons and stuff like that. So life, it's different again. People are inside doors, as you know. In England, you have the opposite, you have the rain. So yeah, that's the life in Morocco. It's a bit different, but it's beautiful. One of the things that Oliver and I were thought about is obviously in the future we want to go and visit our family, and we want to go and visit the country properly. I've seen a lot of places, but I have some places that I haven't seen, and we definitely want to go to the Sahara, we want to go to the south and all these areas. And I've always thought, why people wear those kaftans, jalabas and all that. And the reason is, it makes sense. They're protecting themselves from the heat, and all the hair scarf as well. And I said to Oliver, I would definitely wear kaftans and hair scarves and all that if I'm going to the Sahara, because, I'm absolutely crap. I'm a Berber girl, but I cannot stand the heat. It's absolutely crazy, because I've always thought, I was born in Africa, so I should be very strong about it. I should be like, I'm in the heat, perfect, sun is perfect, I'm not going to burn or anything. But I'm absolutely crap, and I'm absolutely crap at being at -10. So I'm particularly weird when it comes to temperature. My best temperature is just 25 to maximum maybe 30 degrees, and just put me next to water and I'll stay in the water all day. So I'm absolutely crap at being hot. But on the shade is perfect, definitely gorgeous. So yeah, I feel so sorry for our family in Morocco, because it's just too much. 55 degrees is absolutely searing hot. absolutely boiling. God bless them. And by the way, guys, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Pickard Home. If you want to support us, we are going to upload 3 photos a week and put your name at the end of the video. So if you're interested, go ahead and have a look. So what I'm doing is taking the paint of these swirly bits, the difficult bits, and I'm just gonna come with the grinder and do the easy bits.
Good morning. It's another beautiful morning here in southeast France, and guess what I'm going to be doing today? Continuing with the wall. It's turned out to be a bit of a mission, this. You think, oh, I'll have it done in a couple of days, and possibly you could if you did nothing, if you had nothing else to do, and you could just crack on and have everything. You know, maybe a labourer to do your cement, and perhaps you could do it in maybe 4 or 5 days. But I'm in no real rush, and I'm actually just enjoying it. The last few days has been incredibly hot. We've had it in between doing the wall, we've had it 37 degrees for 3 consecutive days, and then luckily the other night we had a really nice thunderstorm. It lasted 2 or 3 hours and it put down about, I don't know, 19 mil of rain, 3/4 of an inch, and it just freshened everything up really nice. Well, the grass has got frazzled, but everything else has really benefited from it. You know, our veggie garden and everything is looking really well now. I think we're gonna have a bumper crop of courgettes and marrows and lots of other things. So continuing our little talk that we had about planning permission, another thing you might want to know if you're thinking about moving here is garden sheds, right? And you're allowed to have a garden shed no bigger than 20 square meters. If it's bigger than that, you need to put in for planning permission. But if it's 20 square meters internal diameter or less, then you you can have it, no problem. But what you do need to do is advise your local mayor that you're actually going to erect a shed, or got a gazebo or garden furniture, anything that's a kind of a semi-permanent building. You need to advise that you're doing it, and it's not Big Brotherish. It's just a matter of fact that for fire services and things like that, if there's buildings that are there that weren't there sort of last year, they just need to know about it. But there's absolutely no problem. You fill out a little form. It's like an advisory note, just to say where it is in your garden, and there's literally no problem. They'd send you thing back saying, yeah, no problem, carry on. What they don't like is you just to come and do things without advising them. If you advise them, there's absolutely no problem. If you don't, it then can cause a problem. Well, another thing you need to be aware of is if you're buying a property with land, perhaps a farmhouse like we bought, or just even a bigger house that has land with it, the local farmers, there's a farmers union called SEFRA, and they have the first dibs on the land. So even if the land and the house goes up together, you're not necessarily guaranteed to get the land with the house. And what you need to do is put your bid in for the house, and say basically, well, I want the house and the land. If I don't get the land, I don't want the house. Because what happens is that then they send a letter to every local farmer, or an email, I don't know now, and basically say there is a plot of land in this location. If you match the price, you get first choice. You can actually buy the land first. So what's actually happened in France is you get a load of really nice houses that fall basically derelict, because people come along and want house and land, and basically the local farmer comes in and says, well, hang on a minute, I want the land to extend my farm, and buys up the land, but doesn't buy the house. So the house is then left with very little land. It's not really saleable, because the house and the land together makes it much more sellable, and the houses then fall into disrepair. Luckily for us, we got we talked to our neighbour, and said if we don't have the land, we don't want the house. And he basically told us, if there's a problem, I will write a letter and state that the land, I said, I've talked to all the local farmers, they don't want it, and to reassure you, I'll actually give you a letter saying that the house and the land are sold together. But you still have to wait 12 weeks. So don't think you can kind of swoop in and buy a house and land cash, straight away. If it's got a house with land in an agricultural area, you will have to wait 12 weeks. That is the law. And for us, it were a very nerve-wracking 12 weeks. And we needn't to worry, because Olivia, who we bought the house off, reassured us right from the word go, there's no problem. But you always that kind of little nagging doubt in your head. But literally, there was no problem. Yes, so just be aware that if you're buying land with a house in a rural area, that you will have to wait 12 weeks, 3 months. And if you've sold your house where you live, you can't move into your house until all this is sorted out. So the thing about being in France, paperwork and things like this, learn to be patient. And obviously, if you do sell your house and you are thinking you're moving here, make sure you've got an alternative place you can live, and you've got enough funds to do that. Because it could be a big shock that the fact that we went back to Spain, and we stayed there for 12 weeks, and then came back again once the sale of the house had gone through. So it's a bit of a nerve-wracking time. But everything worked out for us, so that, you know, there is no real problem. It's more the psychological thing of will we, won't we? You know, will we get it, won't we get it? And like I say, the notaires are really, really good here, and they do explain everything to you, you know, the whole process. But be aware that there can be a bail on your land, an agricultural bail, which allows the local farmer to use the land. And the thing is, it doesn't even need to be a written contract. The previous people that own the house could have just said, yep, you can use it, and it was done on a handshake. And then all the farmer needs to do is prove that he's used the land for however long since the handshake. You know, and he'll have that on his paperwork that he's actually using this extra land. And if that's the case, if you don't mind somebody, you know, if you buy, 12 acres and there's a bail on 6 of it, you've still got 6 acres. But be aware that you own it, but somebody else can use it. And like I say, the same with the fishermen. If you have a riverside property, and the fishing guys can literally walk across your land to get to the river. Basically, it's split up into huge big areas. For instance, like Nouvelle-Aquitaine. But Nouvelle-Aquitaine covers a huge number of different departments. So you've got areas like the, Dordogne, and then the Dordogne is split up into smaller areas. Like the Limousin, it's split up into the Haute-Vienne, Creuse, Corrèze, and then it's split up again into smaller parcels of land, if you will, and each smaller parcel is called a commune. And in our commune, there's roughly 300 people live here permanently, but it's a huge area, and each commune has its own mayor, who is there to basically help anybody that lives in this area. And he sorts out, any road works, any bridges that need doing, anything that basically does. He even sets the price of the firewood, so there's nobody can profiteer. So it's so much for a cord. He sets the price, and he talks to every other mayor, and so there's no area benefits more than another area, in the case of firewood or anything like that. So it's really well organised. And even the schools, if there's a school trip from a small village school, they try and organise it with another school in the local area, where they can obviously share the cost of, a coach and taking the kids, to like the local lake. There's a big nature reserve not far from us, and they do like organised walks for school children and adults, where you can pay a little bit of money, and then you basically get a guided tour, and you can, you take a lunch with you, and you can spend a full day there, which is really, really pleasant. So and there's never nothing to do here. If you're, whatever interests you have, there's pretty much a club for it. So if you enjoy like walking, there's a Ramblers Association. If you like cars, there is like the Citroën Club, but there's a Citroën Club of France, and that is then broken down into your specific area. And literally every weekend through the summer, within sort of 100 kilometre radius, a 60-mile radius of us, you could go to a classic car show in a different area every weekend through the summer. And we also have a local car club, which if you're trying to learn French, it's really good to go and talk to French people, because French from a book isn't the same. just like English, like learning English is not the same whatever area you are from. You have different colloquialisms and different ways of speaking. And if there's an activity, you can guarantee that in France there will be a club for it. So whatever you're into, there'll basically be something for you to, there'll be like-minded people that want to share.
After the days of scorching heat here, today is absolutely gorgeous. We've gone from like 38, 40 degrees to 28, and it's absolutely beautiful.
So unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in this week's video. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, you might want to consider subscribing. And so you can see us finish the gate, mount the gates, and make a beautiful entrance for our little French farmhouse. So please remember to make a life, not just a living. And I'll see you all in the next episode. With Rob with Black Hands. Bye bye.